the international selection that you know, Paddy has an average game and you know Madigan has a good game, and that just kind of edges it, and that happened to be in Europe as well. So I think Paddy was a little bit hard done by, but tonight's a good chance for him to put the ball into the corners, use his kicking game really well, get Ulster on the front foot, get his forwards working well, and you know, get the team going forward.
Okay, Stephen, Andy, thank you very much indeed. The Dragons are on the field. We await Ulster. It's time to join our commentary team, Tony McWhirter and Jim Neely.
Well, one of my BBC colleagues who hasn't been here for a while said, lovely new stadium, same old Belfast weather, and alas, you couldn't possibly disagree with them. The Dragons on the field already, led by their South African second row, Reynard Landman. A few familiar faces, Andy Powell at number 8, Rhys Thomas in the front row, and the former Leicester Tiger Boris Stankovic adding a little bit of beef. A few changes behind the scrum. They've had to play Matthew Putner and Rhys Williams in the middle of the park, with Ashton Hewitt coming on the right wing position. A threat from Alan Brew on the left wing as ever. Well, not quite the 18,500 on a sunlit afternoon that we had just over a week ago for the visit of the European giants Toulon, but over 13,000 tickets have been sold for this one, and a lot of clubs in other regions would be very happy with 13,000. Big changes. Roger Wilson captaining the Ulster side for the third time this season. Ulster have made 7 changes and a couple of positional switches. Two changes in the front row. In come Callum Black and Rob Herring, and in the back row a second start for Clive Ross and a first ever start for the New Zealander at open side flanker Sean Reedy. Second row remains the same. Behind the scrum, same halfbacks, a new centre combination in McCluskey and Cave. Mr. Nelson starts his first game of the season, and Stuart Olding plays full back with Louis Ludick on the right wing.
Mario Simon here, just checking. Good luck for the game.
Okay, Simon.
Referee is from Italy. He's a 32-year-old engineer, former hooker with Livorno, and he's Matteo Liparino.
Okay.
Well, the rain, hard to see, but if you look at the floodlights, you can see the rain is still coming down. And away go Ulster, taken in straight away by Alan Brew. And here's the former Lions tourist, Andy Powell. Controversial on the field, and off times off the field as well.
So.
Good pressure by Ulster, but that's well cleared. Stuart Olding operating at full-back for the very first time in a senior Ulster jersey. And running, Paddy Jackson. Away to Peter Nelson, who's in form, has been playing some good stuff for the Ulster Ravens.
Rock, no hand, Black.
Actually set up by the Ulster forward. Here's the new man, Sean Reedy, who got himself injured in the opening game of the season, the first pre-season friendly against the Exeter Chiefs. Rob Herring very nearly finding a gap. Marshall, Jackson, Cave. Lively start by Ulster, as they've tended to. Roger Wilson, the skipper, has made some good ground. Support from tight head prop Vian Herbst. Nice soft little pass from Franco van der Merwe. Marshall again, Jackson, Ulster being patient. That's a lovely cut-out pass. McCluskey, oh, he should have given that. Try maybe not butchered, but the chance, well, we'll never know. Good work by Callum Black and by Lewis Stevenson. Jackson, cleverly done. Here goes Wilson again. Holding it, loop round outside him, and Ulster still making some decent ground. Taken by Sean Reedy, born in West Auckland. Jackson, lovely pass. McCluskey took it well. Good work by Stevenson clearing out. Here's his second row partner, Van der Merwe. Third game in a row they've played together. And Marshall. Herbst, man down injured, may well be Roger Wilson, the skipper. Bit of a switch. Darren Cave has to set that up himself. Doesn't look good for Ulster's skipper, if indeed it is Roger Wilson. I think it is. Vian Herbst yet again. Tackled by another South African, Reynard Landman. But Ulster still in possession. And Ulster determined, despite the conditions, to keep the ball in hands. That'll certainly please the crowd. Van der Merwe. The Dragons' defence proving pretty solid, though. Ulster haven't really been able to break the gain line. Here goes Herring.
back.
Catflaren as a replacement flanker in the second test against the Pumas last summer. Well set up by Callum Black, who's had to give second best to Andrew Warwick for the loose head position. He is the undisputed tight head at the moment. Herbst. Wilson up, holding his ribs, I think. Marshall still there for Ulster. Half a chance now. Nicely done, holding. Not a lot of room in which to use those twinkly feet of his. There's Marshall, speaking of twinkly feet, as he got support. There's no Wilson there, remember, he's getting some treatment. And Ulster have given away possession after 5 minutes solid with ball in hand. Well,
Correct.
3.5.
Correct.
Ulster pinched it. Cleverly done by Marshall. Wilson is getting up, but he's holding his ribs. And Kay, first time boot has been put to the ball. Alan Brew goes back. Well covered by Brew.
Stop.
Off the outside of the foot. Jackson perfectly positioned. Will reply. Not quite with interest, but that's not a bad kick either. Well taken in by Jason Tovey, who's bundled to the ground. Well, there's also a lot of problems a few years ago at Rodney Parade when he scored a hat-trick. Richie Reese demanding the ball, and Ulster have stolen it again. Well, Roger Wilson is up, but he's looking very sore. Doesn't often get hurt. This is Reedy. Ulster with ball in hand yet again. McCluskey does well, gets it to Cave. Good interplay between 12 and 13.
Use it.
Still Marshall. Wilson's going off. Herbst.
No hand, Black.
Jackson, well taken by Nelson. They'll reach behind him. Ulster operating at the breakdown, remember, without their skipper. Here's Callum Black. Well, that's a sad sight. That looks like a rib or two. May well have gone. Van der Merwe wasn't held down and up. He's done well, the big South African. This is great stuff by the man who's been calling the Ulster lineouts this season. Now Marshall. Nicely done, Cave. Tries to do the one-handed fend off. All the pressure coming from the men in white, but still nothing to show for it. And we have played over 5 minutes. Stevenson does well.
Ruck.
Referee has crawled ruck. Ball is on the deck. Marshall. Van der Merwe. Oh, nice delay in the pass. Cave, almost an interception. Louis Ludick in from the right wing. James Thomas tackling Ulster's utility back. Marshall decides to kick.
Advantage over.
Referee calls advantage over, and that's not a bad kick at all by Marshall. Well, he couldn't have judged it any better, could he?
Oh, good evening, Jim. Good evening, everybody.
I beg your pardon, Tony McWhorter is with me.
A real breathless start, Jim. 5 minutes ball in play. Ulster going through the phases, showing some nice patience. Paul Marshall probing around the edges, and I think it's quite clear from everybody he wants to play with pace this evening.
Wait, please.
Well, Paul Marshall is trying to dictate the pace of this game behind a pack that seems to be
For
dominant.
you, open, please.
Robbie Dyack wearing number 20 has come on. That's gone long. Taken in by the Dragons, Richie Reese. No nonsense from him, and he finds a very good touch, but it's going to be an Ulster line-out. Well, they've got ice on that straight away. I think you can count the number of times Roger Wilson has left the field injured in the last decade on the thumbs of one hand.
Come on.
Absolutely, Jim. He's redoubtable, goes mile for mile all the time, picks up very few injuries, and he looked in considerable pain as he went off there. He's landed on his right shoulder, and obviously everybody wishes him a speedy recovery.
Yeah, he might just have popped a rib. Van der Merwe takes well for Ulster. Referee has called a maul. Ulster keeping it tight.
Move.
That's Clive Ross at the back. That's good driving by the men in white. Superb forward motion. It would be Dragons tackler taken out of the way, and the referee's blown the whistle. Now that's a penalty. Decision time for whoever's taken over the captaincy. It probably is Franco van der Merwe, I would think. And Jackson has decided to go for the points. In fact, he hasn't. He's decided to go for the corner.
Yeah, it's been a real strength of Ulster this year, the driving line out. Clive Ross on that occasion getting the
On the
ball
line,
and
Black.
smuggling himself to the
On the
bag,
line,
and
please.
a great drive up
White.
front. Another chance for catch and drive possibly here.
Rob Herring into the full 7-man Ulster line-out. Diak one from the back.
Quickly, please.
Well, deflected back by Ulster, but it bounced off the supporting player, who was Clive Ross, and that's going to give the first scrum of the evening in favour of the Dragons. Came down very quickly. I don't think they meant to do it just as quickly as that. It might have been Stevenson, in fact, who got the touch.
Yeah, come on. Yes, correct.
Into the back row. Andy Powell, like 33 years of age, 23 times
Mine, please.
capped for Wales.
Yeah.
Dan Way on the near side for the Dragons against Callum Black.
Crouch!
Considerable weight advantage to the visitors.
Set!
Ulster scrum is always beefed up with the presence of Nick Williams. Now this referee, Matteo Leporino, when he did his first game in this league a couple of years ago, he came in for all sorts of criticism. He did a game in Edinburgh, and he awarded something in the region of 8 or 10 penalties at the scrum in each half, and got a lot of stick, needless to say, from the Scottish papers, because I think Edinburgh lost.
Yeah, the underfoot conditions aren't good here as well, so it's going to be important for both front rows to get nice and close together. Good crouch with a good bind, and listen to the referee. Don't get on their own side early.
Please. Okay. Crouch!
Forward rugby boots these days resemble bally pumps as opposed to the ones that I used to wear.
Set!
But then dinosaurs walked the earth. Richie Rees. A solid enough looking Dragon scrum. Marshall
touch
comes
them
round
right.
to disrupt.
Use
Referee tells
it.
him to get back. Now they've been told to use it. Ulster have disrupted.
Roll away,
So they
6
did keep the
wide.
drive on. Pyle sets it up. Well, they've survived that one. And Angus O'Brien gets it away. And that's not a bad kick from the young outside half. Only 20 years of age, Welsh under 20 international last year. Took that well, Robbie Jack, putting him under a bit of pressure, but he kept his cool. Bit of a confab
Inside
called
15,
by
please. Inside 15.
Franco van der Merwe was Rob Herring wipes the ball. I think Robbie Jack expected it quite as early as this. Stevenson does well. Marshall, that's a good pass. Jackson, McCluskey. Oh, he's got away from 1 and 2. Lovely little offload to Nelson.
Advantage.
Referee plays advantage, and
Advantage
Alan
over.
Brew sees the gap, and all of a sudden Ashton Jew's coming, legging it down. Ulster in a little bit of trouble inside their own 22, but they've got men
Number
back
14.
and the scrum half in position. And the Dragons get offside. Ulster take it quickly. Marshall was interfered with before he made the 10 metres. Referee playing advantage, and again the Dragons come in offside. It was Brew that time. Jackson, McCluskey wide. Delicate by the big Phillip, and nicely done. Well, despite the conditions, Tony, it hasn't lacked excitement.
Yeah, certainly. Neil Doak spent a good 5 or 10 minutes with Paul Marshall pre-warm-up, just walking around the pitch, looking at different options, and that was really before that heavy rain came. But certainly, also looking to play with some spark and invention. Marshall's been very, very bright, and we all know how quick he is around the base of things. Looks very, very dynamic this evening.
Ulster have an injury. Louis Lulick's the man down on the far side. More of that in a second. T. Rees Thomas, another Welsh international. Richie Rees, another one. O'Brien kicks, knowing there was nobody there. Lulick's up, he's looking a bit ginger. Here comes Olding. Well, now that's adventurous. Has it worked? Yeah, it's still loose, and I think Olding nudged it forward.
No, Black.
But the scrum is going to go to Ulster because the referee has decided that the offence was committed by the Dragons. 12 minutes gone, no score.
I think it's quite obvious. We can see already the way that the Dragons are looking to play. Nice service from Richie Rees to young O'Brien at out half, and they're looking to play the corners in behind the two Ulster wingers. But again, looking at the Ulster selection, all three of the guys, the two wings and the fullback, they're all can play in that fullback position. And obviously with the Dragons employing a kicking game this evening, Ulster have both the expertise and the ability to hopefully counter that.
First put in at the scrum for Ulster with 12.5 minutes gone. There's
Crouch!
Richie Rees, now 31 years of age.
Bind! Set!
9 Welsh caps in succession. Way back in 2007. And he takes it quickly. And here goes Powell. Good strong run by the Lion from 5 years ago. Good support play from Big Lewis Evans. This could be interesting. Ulster have been in command for most of the game. That's spilled forward. Now we're Ulster offside. The referee's having a good look, and he decides not. And Ulster living a bit dangerously.
Yeah, Paddy Jackson did very well there. Spotted the mismatch, numbers down, decided to hit up and then early on Andy Powell. And we all know how big and aggressive he is at the back of things. He loves to carry ball. That's his main forte in this game, and a man that Ulster are going to have to watch very closely throughout the proceedings.
Well, the pattern of this game, like so many we've seen from Ulster this season and previous seasons, a lot of pressure on early on and no points coming, and then they have a tendency just after not taking points from the pressure, conceding points.
Yeah, but it's going to be interesting again with this. You know, there's a
Crouch!
rejig in the initial selection of back row, now losing Roger Wilson as well. It's very much an untried trio.
Well, Dyke's played a lot of his rugby at number 8, so he'll be well used to that. And that's a good Ulster scrum, and Dyke controls it. Marshall on the narrow side. Ludica's outside him. Going to be a little break by the scrum half. Now he needs to give it. He does give it. Good galloping run by Sean Reedy. Terrific support from the open side. Marshall.
Stop 20, White. Stop 20.
Trying to keep the lid on. And Andy Powell just ambles over as if he were going for the Sunday papers.
Yeah, that's virtuoso. Paul Marshall. Quick free kick, pick and go. Again, jumping, keeping the defenders off him. And again, a bright shot from Sean Reedy. We've seen him with ball in hand, carrying, but you know, here's Marshall at his best. Skipping, ball in 2 hands, drawing players, and that's fine open side play from Sean Reedy.
Andy Ward back in the studio would have been proud of that. Well taken and well away by Richie Rees. Hasn't found his touch though. Stuart Olding on halfway.
Stop 7. Stop.
That is a clever kick by Olding. And that's claimed on the ground by Peter Nelson. Ulster get the quick ball. Olding. Oh, that's in behind the defence. Here comes Cave. If he dives, he might get in. He does dive. And the referee is going to have a look at that. And Darren Cave might just have got that. But we'll have to go up to Simon McDowell.
Time off.
It was a beautiful kick by Olding. And Cave put the foot on the gas. But did he stretch enough, and did he get the downward pressure?
TML.
Did he make the contact? There's a wee shake of the head
Yes,
there,
Mario.
as if he's not convinced.
Try yes or not.
Thank you, Mario. I'll review.
Thank you.
Matteo Liparino is asking for try yes or no. I think the defender has got to that one.
But Darren's never too shy to celebrate a try or two, and certainly he doesn't look convinced in his actions coming back, and I think it's probably going to end up being a 22 dropout to the Dragons.
Yeah, well, that last angle didn't show. This is probably the better one, and it looks like the Dragons have prevented the try well. Proverbial coat of paint. Haven't heard yet from Simon McDowell. Well, Ulster are lining up to receive the 22 dropout, and the Dragons are lining up to give the 22 dropout. Here's another look from the same angle.
Mario, I have a decision.
Yeah.
It's a 22-metre dropout.
Okay, thank you. 20 meters. Okay.
22-metre dropout.
No try.
Boo, say the crowd, as you'd expect.
Yeah, Cave did quite well though, didn't they? Used the conditions, a slippery pitch, went for the early dive to get ahead of his opposition and almost nearly got there.
Well, here's the little twinkly star of the evening so far, Paul Marshall. Knocked forward by Ulster, referee playing advantage to the Dragons, who do take advantage. Taken on by tight head prop Dan Way.
Rock, no hand, White.
T. Rees Thomas, Ulster offside. Rob Herring giving away the penalty. Referee had told him the ruck had formed. This referee did his first international a couple of seasons ago. He refereed Germany against Belgium. I bet that was all ticket.
He's come a long way.
He has. I hope you get the weather you're expecting with those sunglasses. And that's given the Dragons a very good position, and that was nicely struck by young Angus O'Brien. Only his second start. Jason Tovey playing at full-back. Lee Byrne, the club skipper, injured not for the first time this evening. Speaking earlier to the wily Lynn Jones, who said he's had a huge amount of problems. He's got 4 second rows and now 4 centres injured. And Ashley Smith was due to play, but cried off earlier this afternoon. Thomas throws. Little tap down by Ulster. Have they managed to pull it in though? Yes, they have. Good work by Callum Black. Clive Ross cleverly went to the narrow side. And that's a very good kick indeed by Marshall. Well, he's in terrific form so far. We played 17 minutes and he's got a gold star with a tick, I think.
Yeah, he has, and again, just nice composure at the base of the ruck. Takes his time. Opposition, you can see them almost trying to, not preemptive, almost to make him kick it, but he's happy to sit and wait, let the first wave come, sit back and then clear as they actually retreat back. And he looks very assured this evening, and obviously trying to give Paddy Jackson a bit of an armchair ride.
Alan Brew comes in off the left wing for the Dragons. Jackson gets himself out of it. Richie Rees. Good solid Ulster defending there. Reynard Landman trying to clear Ulster players out of it. That's his second row partner, Jamie Thomas. Rees forced to get it to O'Brien, who kicks. Now, who's underneath that? The answer is nobody. Well, that's not so clever. That's Ludick, and away he goes. He brushes off the first tackle, gets it to Nelson. Good support from the flame-haired wing three-quarter. Now it's Jackson. Tubby was well placed.
Top 6.
Back goes Robbie Dack. That's a very good kick by Tubby. Not an outside half to the manor-born Robbie Dayak, but he's cleared the lines anyway. There's a chance now. Here comes Powell. He'll straighten. Gets it away well. This is another quick fellow. Ashton Hewitt loses possession. Down and up again goes Vian Herbst. Referees playing advantage to Ulster. Callum Black at outside half. Now it's Marshall. Good pass. Well, again, that's a pass that should have been made. Ulster causing themselves all sorts of problems here. They've got to clear these lines.
Back, Black. Number 2, number 7.
Marshall didn't make much ground with that one. Well taken in by the Dragons. Alan Brew. They can't give him any room, and they haven't. Look at Herbst and Van der Merwe, the two new boys, doing a fair bit of team tackling. O'Brien down way in his 5th season with the Ospreys. Jamie Thomas. Taken on yet again by the Dragons. It's all a bit slow. Richie Rees. No real zip there. Powell. Rees again.
No hand 7.
TV's Thomas. Well, he's not really going anywhere. Powell will try. Tackled by his now number 8 opposite number Robbie Dayak. Back inside to the Dragons skipper Reynard Landeman. Richie Rees. James Benjamin, the young open side, only 20 years of age. There's another 20-year-old. This is Alan Brew, 28. Good also defending. Richie Rees. Well, it's really attritional at the moment. The Dragons really not doing very much except play up the jumper rugby, and Ulster are happy with that. Rob Herring in quickly, and Ulster foot just popped that through. Callum Black working hard at the breakdown. And here they come again. Ball coming back on the Dragons side, albeit slowly. Ulster need to be careful about going in with the hands. And right over the top go the Dragons. That's a sign of a frustrated side, because they were going really nowhere, were they?
No, it's very attritional, and two very contrasting styles from what we've seen from both sides in this initial 20 minutes. It's Dragons for the last minute or so going through the phases, and it's T.R. Thomas there quite clearly going off his feet. Referee in a great position. Simple penalty to give away, but Ulster looking to play by far and away the more expansive game, happy to use the ball. We've seen more action from the two wings and fullbacks in this game than we have really in the last two matches against Leicester and Toulon, albeit different opposition.
Well, another good kick to touch from Paddy Jackson. There's the culprit, the man who gave away the penalty.
White, please, come
37 caps for Wales. Also having a wee confab and somebody very kindly, and the ball boy is doing the honours for Rob Herring, who added his own little signature wipe to it.
Number.
Bit of a spill there from Robbie Dyack. James Benjamin.
Correct.
Paddy Jackson goes in. Lewis Stevenson's got his mitts on the ball and the opposition player, but that's well turned by the Dragons. And goes Dan Way.
Use it.
The referee said use it. Here comes Van der Merwe. Angus O'Brien had to slide to the ground. Referee telling Ulster to keep their hands out of it because it's a ruck situation, so the ball has made contact with the ground.
Use it.
Reese has a wee glance to see what's available down this near side, the Dragons' right.
Stop,
Jason
Black,
Tovey.
Stop.
Peter Nelson, long way out. He's curled that infield. Well gathered by Reese. Stevenson on the ground. That's come infield a little bit too much. Olding waits. That's into no man's land, and somebody had to claim it, and it's gone loose. And Olding couldn't get it. Now he has got it. Referee saying advantages to Ulster for the knock forward, and they will get the put into the scrum. Well, coming up to 24 minutes gone, the scoreboard has not been bothered.
No, but there's been plenty there for the crowd to get involved with. And again, Stuart Olding just looks a consummate footballer, doesn't he, at fullback? Every time he gets a ball, his spatial awareness, his pace, great step off both feet, and slightly unlucky there, but there's a real buzz around the ground whenever he gets the ball in hand.
That might have been a harsh decision against the Dragons. I didn't really notice the knock forward. Bit of a stoppage injury. I think it's to Dan Way. Now there's don't know where Neil Duck has gone to. There's Alan Clark and Johnny Bell in video analysis. Former Ulster and outside half Niall Malone, and Neil Duck is not there. I'm sure he hasn't deserted at this stage of the season. There he is. I think about a nose powdering maybe.
Maybe he needed some sustenance. There's been a good start from Sean Reedy, Jim, at open side. I know Andy Ward talked about it beforehand, this being his first outing and chance for many of the people here this evening to see him, and certainly he looks very abrasive defensively. We've seen him carry the ball on a couple of occasions, and he's got his nose dirty early on, which is what we wanted to see.
I'm not sure whether that particular gentleman was running at the Down Royal Festival over the last couple of days.
Number 8 white and number 8 black.
Glad I didn't have any money on him. So coming up to 25 minutes played, still no score. Ulster in a very good position.
Crouch!
And they've moved all their forces out to the right-hand side of the field.
Bind.
Peter Nelson just directly behind the scrum, looking to come in, I'm sure. They've got to get the scrum right. And that is a good Ulster scrum. Nelson has moved now over to the near side. Marshall has a go on the near side. Nelson didn't quite read it. He should have been quicker with him. Well taken by Nelson. And not a bad tackle at all by late replacement Ashton Hewitt. This is Reedy, who's been busy.
No hand to Black.
Rob Herring.
Rock, no hand.
Nice sidestep by the former flanker, now playing at hooker. Jackson.
Roll away.
Cave low and hard and strong and straight. Ulster have got the advantage, and we may get the first points of the game. And it's the Dragons skipper, Reynard Landeman, didn't roll away. And that was all because of a nice piece of forward play and a good strong hard piece of running by Darren Cave.
Yeah, and these are the occasions in the red zone. You must take your points, but as you say, Peter Nelson almost got caught out there. Marshall made the break, and Peter Nelson just maybe half a yard or a yard off the pace. There's some nice play coming up. There's Darren Cave and the crash coming through the middle, and the Dragons who aren't clearing out of the way quick enough. Paddy Jackson with a reasonably straightforward attempt, 15 metres out in front of the posts.
Darren Cave now capped 7 times for Ireland, and all of them overseas. Jackson. Pretty straightforward from straight in front of the post, and we've had to wait nearly 26 minutes for the first points, but they've gone to Ulster, who now lead the Dragons by 3 points to 0.
Yeah, Stephen Ferris talked about the win first and foremost this evening, and that's Ulster's first points on the board, but the degree of invention that they've shown has been good to see, and quite obviously they're in chase of the 4 tries if possible.
Marshall takes, and that's a very good kick. Well, he's having a very productive evening, Paul Marshall, which I think everybody will be delighted. He's had to live in the shadow of the great Ruan Pienaar for a number of years, and with Pienaar injured, everybody was hoping that Marshall could replicate, but he plays an entirely different game to the South African.
He does play a different game, but yet the game that he plays, it's high octane, it's full of snipe. But his pass and box kick this evening, have been very sound so far.
Angus
Stop,
O'Brien.
number 1. Stop. Stop.
Mixture of Irish and Scottish in terms of his names. Well taken by
Rock.
Olding, who was well taken by Alan Brew, and here come Ulster. Little chip kick through Darren Cave. That's a clever thing to do. That was well struck by Reedy. Now Cave has found a wee bit of gas from somewhere, and Reedy picks it up. It's gone loose. Was Ludick taken out? Ulster dive is very close, and the referee has given the penalty for the offside, when maybe the try might have been better, and also thinking about taking it quickly.
Number 4.
Well, that's lifted the spirits on a pretty miserable night here.
Yeah, just as that chip and chase, and again Sean Reedy, good open side play, right place, right time, showed good speed, able to stay on his feet in the contact and look for the offload, and Darren Cave did quite well putting his man under pressure. But there's Reedy, and again his first instinct is to pass.
Quite a thing claiming that Louis Ludick was taken when he didn't have the ball. Well, the ball was about to pop into his hand, so it would have been a very tough call if that penalty had been given. But it was a penalty given for offside anyway. Really gave it an awful wallop, and look at Cave, just chest out, thrusting as hard as he can go, and that was pretty close to an Ulster try. Good covering back there eventually by Matthew Putner. Not quite as straight in front, but the same result. So 2 penalties for Ulster within a couple of minutes, and all of a sudden they're 6-0 up.
Yeah, and sort of Ulster's best 2 chances have come with a good old-fashioned foot rush, haven't they? Ball on the ground in a wet night, kick it in behind the opposition and put the chase on, and you just never know. Given these conditions, the ball can really go anywhere.
Just let me remind you that there were wins last night for the Ospreys, Glasgow, and indeed Leinster, who got a bonus point win. And this afternoon, Munster went to the Arms Park and defeated Cardiff to move up into 3rd place. An Ulster win tonight would take them back into 3rd place, which is what Ulster, needless to say, want.
Rock.
Reece Thomas, and he's lost it. Van der Merwe, well away by Reedy. McCluskey, Cave. Good angle by Olding. Still going, Olding's away! What a hand up by the youngster, and a fantastic try by Ulster's 21-year-old fullback. His 5th league try, and arguably the best he's scored.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier, how dangerous it is, the fullback cutting that line, and again, fine hands, good timing, balance in the tackle to evade it and get through, and then speed and strength at the end to go over, and certainly he looks very accomplished at fullback, as he does in most positions.
Wonderful pass by McCluskey, and look at Cave, and Olding ran the perfect line. He had Ludick outside him. He just used the body swerve to get away from one, and the handoff to get away from another. Cave's pass was nothing short of magnificent, and Olding strong and determined. Low centre of gravity, great strength from the waist down, great determination. Terrific try.
Yeah, but again, Jim, that came from the breakdown and 2 passes moving it away from the point of contact, and Ulster getting the ball into space.
Here's Paddy Jackson. Off the post, but in the space of about 4 minutes, Ulster have rattled up 11 points, and that's put them in pretty good place just before the interval. Jackson wasn't too far away. It didn't quite come in. Bit unfortunate for Jackson.
3 black. Okay, thank you.
Well, his first venture as an Ulster fullback, and it's proving a pretty decent one. Tag takes it inside his 22, and needless to say, after his last effort, he's decided not to kick. That way is going off for the Dragons. Marshall's put in another good kick taken by Powell. Tries to get away from Nelson, who's having none of it. And the strong Vian Herbst is in there to add his considerable bulk and muscle to it. Lewis Stevenson battles. Lloyd Fairbrother is on. Also give away the penalty.
And again, it's the man on the ground not clearing himself out of the contact situation quick enough. But again, good set piece play from Ulster. Get the points. Clear, accurate communication from Robbie Diak at the back. Catches, sets it up. It's a box kick. Accurately placed by Marshall and good chase by Peter Nelson.
Jason Tovey, who's an excellent kicker from both the tee and in the hand, has found a very good touch. The Dragons still have plenty of time. I don't think they're finished in this half at all.
White.
Both teams have had to make a replacement. Roger Wilson has gone off, and there is the man born in Torpoint in Cornwall some 22 years ago. Almost 20 stones of Lloyd Fairbrother. Dragons have only 6 men in the line-out.
Ball!
Taken well at the front by James Thomas. Fairbrother getting involved already. That slow ball coming back, though. Ulster have battled well to make it difficult for Richie Rees at scrum half. He needs someone to take it on, and that man is James Benjamin, the open side. Rees gets it away quickly. Rees Williams playing his very first game for the Dragons. Was playing a couple of weeks ago for Carmarthen Quins. Parachuted into this side. Jamie Thomas again met with stout Ulster resistance. Foul.
No hand white.
Also told to keep their hands out of it by the Italian referee.
Stop,
Again,
stop.
it's slow. Ala Brew.
Advantage. Number 5, offside.
Van der Merwe was offside. Referee playing advantage. Angus O'Brien gets it away. Nicely scooped up off the toes. Darren Cave across very quickly. Referee still playing advantage.
Use it.
Powell tried to set a little dummy by going down the narrow side to try to catch Ulster offside. Clever play by the veteran. Again, it's Jamie Thomas who's been battling away. Referee still playing advantage, and that's been knocked forward, and he'll go back for the penalty. It's the best bit of pressure from the Dragons all game, and we played nearly 34 minutes.
Yeah, it was ball in hand. They go through the phases quite well. Don't play the game with any particular width, and the forwards are continually coming the same way. And in theory, it should be quite easy defensively, to counter. But Ulster at times are just slow to come off the line. Line speed maybe not quick enough with certain individuals, and that's able just to give the Dragons that ability to get over. And whenever you have someone of valid bruise, physicality and speed, looking for work and looking for ball around the side of things, your defence has to be very, very tight.
Well, the rain is still coming down, but it's very, very fine. The crowd don't seem to be too bothered about it. They may well be a bit bothered if Angus O'Brien can land this one just to close the gap to 8 points. About 5.5 minutes to go to the interval. Here's O'Brien. Nice kick from close range by the Dragons outside half. And it's now Ulster 11 and the Dragons 3.
Yeah, so Brian's looked quite accomplished at outside half, Jim, hasn't he? He's kicked well. It's a good service from Richie Rees inside on a difficult night for passing from scrum halves. And he's been happy to sit in the pocket and kick the corners, and he's done that very effectively.
Jackson. Brew. He's gone outside his 22. So can't be kicked directly into touch from here.
Use it.
And Reese
Stop.
is trying to keep it in field, and he's done just that. Dyack covers well. Good take under difficult conditions. Away goes Dyack. Gets across the halfway line. Marshall, who's played splendidly. Jackson.
Stop.
That's a teaser. Up goes McCluskey. Little tap by the big fella in the centre. Back on the Dragon side, Reese away to his skipper. This is Tubby. Pass was forward to Andy Paul with a roaming commission out in the wing.
Okay. 14 white. 14.
Louis Ludick is leaving the field, and Ricky Andrews coming on. Another man who can play on the wing or the centre or even full back. So that's unfortunate. I hope it's not too serious for Louis Ludick. Ulster have lost Wilson and they've lost Ludick.
Nice bit of play by the Dragons there, a bit of invention. Again, good out and under from Stuart Olding. Perhaps the chase could have been better. Not enough pressure putting the man catching the ball, but Dragons happy to get the ball down. And again, 2 quick passes, getting the ball into the outside channel, and the space was there.
Well, Neil Duck will be a wee bit anxious. He certainly won't want to ship any more injuries. There's another 3 weeks before the current league leaders, the Ospreys, come to Belfast.
Crouch. 5. 6.
Ulster scrummage. They're playing the Black Velvet Band. I wonder if they know that Tommy Bowe is here. I spoke to him earlier on. He says he's fine. Here comes Marshall. That came off Brew, and that should be an Ulster line out. Ricky Andrew up very quickly. Looks a lot heavier, Ricky Andrew. Looks all this training and conditioning. He was a bit spindly when we first saw him a year or so ago, or a couple of years ago, wasn't he?
He was certainly Jim, and the shirts are a bit tighter these days as well.
But again, the feeling, but it's nothing to do with training.
But again, from Marshall there, perhaps a slightly interesting decision, considering that the Dragons had actually got the wheel up on the loose head side, making it a longer port of call for Marshall to go around the Ulster scrum down that right hand side. Perhaps he would have been better coming open and playing the ball to his outside half.
Good take by Stevenson. Dyack, Paddy Jackson. That's not a bad kick. Well gathered by Nelson. Nearly got away from Tubby. Needs some help. Dyack is in there, who set it all up in the first place. Marshall. Reedy, who's impressed. Marshall again, Callum Black.
No hand, Black.
Pick up and drive yet again by Van der Merwe. Reedy is in there. Callum Black too. Ulster trying to scatter Dragons left, right and centre. Doing a pretty good job. Another score before half time would just be what the Ulster fans would like. Here they come again. And Stevenson's done well. Trying to keep straight. He's set it up underneath the post, so options on both sides. Marshall takes the narrow side option. Jackson into a bit of space, and Ashton Hewitt plenty of time.
Yeah, I think Ulster had to be a little bit cuter in there. They're playing into the Dragons defensively, into their hands by very narrow point of attack. So a nice pick and go from Franco van der Merwe. That's the first time we've seen that this evening, but basically Ulster have looked much more capable of breaking down the Dragons' defence whenever that attack has been 3 or 4 metres wider than what they're currently doing. That's what the space is.
Olding. Jackson inside him, having a look. Olding with the left foot. That's a good kick and a great take by Angus O'Brien. Ulster let him come down to ground before they made the contact. This is the replacement, Lloyd Fairbrother. Tovey.
Stop 8. Stop 2. Black.
Jackson in the full back position. Sends it back up again. Across comes Angus O'Brien. Jackson jumps, knocked backward on the Ulster side. But the Dragons won that on the ground. Reese. Tovey. Into a bit of space.
Move.
Nelson out in the right wing. Didn't find his touch. Angus O'Brien from Marshall. Pops it into touch because he knows it's going to be half time. And Ulster dominating in terms of possession and territory, and dominating on the scoreboard. It might have been more, but they'll be happy enough. An unconverted try, 2 penalties, and Ulster at half time leading by 11 points to 3. And he'll not be too unhappy, Neil Doak, with that, Tony.
No, I think there's plenty there, Jim, to keep everybody happy. Considering the weather conditions 10 or 15 minutes before kick-off, we were quite downcast in terms of what sort of performance may be ahead of us. But certainly Ulster played with a lot of invention. The Dragons have come into it more in the second stanza of that first half, and I think the second half is full of optimism from both sides.
Yeah, and both sides playing pretty decent rugby in pretty dreadful conditions. So they are Ulster happy enough. If it stays like that, they'll go back up into 3rd place in the league. They're leading the Dragons at half time by 11 points to 3, and a lot more to come in the second half. And believe it or not, the weather conditions are getting slightly better as the beloved turf gets a makeover at the interval.
Well, Ulster with an 8-point advantage, a comfortable one at that. Stephen Ferris and Andy Ward enjoyed what was a composed Ulster performance against a team which didn't really offer an awful lot. Stephen?
Yeah, definitely, considering the weather conditions, I think it's been pretty entertaining. The guys pass the ball around, and their handling skills have actually been really, really good. I've been really impressed. They got a try there, and hopefully they can build on that for the second half. But going into the second half, they'll be pretty confident, maybe getting another try or two.
At times, that first half lacked structure, but Ulster did very well from broken play, didn't they?
Yeah, I thought so. We actually, Ulster for me, looked best from broken play, but they held the ball, as you say. They kept the ball. They had a little bit of composure about what they were trying to do. They didn't panic at any point in that first 40 minutes. It looked like no point they were panicking under any pressure, and so they looked well within themselves at this stage. And to be honest, I thought the Gwyn Dragons looked a little weak at this stage. So Ulster, I think if they could just keep going, they'll have a good chat in the half-time match. Come out, away they go.
Stuart Olding released by Joe Smith from the international panel and scored a fabulous try. Took it really well, didn't he?
Yeah, well, that's what Stu's all about. He's got great feet, and I'm happy to see him fend that guy off as well. Use a bit of pace there to get in. You just see it now, but I think last week was pretty difficult for him. Coming up against Ramos and Bastro, but he just showed a bit of class here. Hits a perfect line. He comes on a bit of an unders line off Darren Cave there. And a good fend here to finish. The guy should have went low, but it's a great finish by Stu. And I think he's got a lot of talent and ability, and that kind of showed a bit of it there.
His spatial awareness, I think, is fantastic, and he run that a really, really good line there. Carried the ball in the right hand, looking for the fend on the inside, just did everything he needed to do. This is a young guy we're talking about here, and for me, he's an exciting prospect for the future for Ulster Rugby, for sure.
Is he at 15 tonight? Is that with an eye to future international possibilities, or is that just needs must this evening?
Look, I'm not sure. I suppose Louis Luda can play at 15 as well, but he's doing such a good job. He cuts really good lines. Are you just seeing it? Coming on that wee unders line. That's one step, and he's in, and he's through the hole there.
He's just really, really tasty player. You could play shoot at 10. He looks comfortable. You could play him at inside centre. He looks comfortable. Outside centre, and here he is at fullback, looking once again comfortable. He just has good spatial awareness, and he's just a talented rugby player.
Just unfortunately, he come up against Bastro and Mermoz last week.
Before that try, Ulster came close on a couple of occasions to scoring a couple more, didn't they? Yeah,
well, Andy alluded to it there. Broken play. We seem to be going well. A nice wee kick through there. Cavey, a great turn of pace, but fair play to the Dragons, big second row there for getting back. I'll give Darren a bit of a slag in there that the big guy caught him. Yeah. But we chip through there again, just a little bit good support play there by Reedy, and unlucky. Great pickup. Unlucky not to get in underneath the sticks, but that's what we're saying there. A bit of broken play, especially with a wet ball. Anything can happen. So potentially in the second half, you might see a few more kicks down the lines and kicks in behind them, try and get a bit of luck.
And we talked about at the top of the show, two players we hadn't seen too much of was Sean Reedy and Clive Ross. They've had good games. Yeah. That was Sean Reedy. They're picking the ball up on the hoof on a wet conditions. That's a good skill set to have to be able to do that. But they're putting themselves in good positions to offer Ulster Rugby something. And so they're having a good debut so far.
One thing, it's easy to kind of if it's 20 degrees out there, a nice dry ball. It's easy to see young guys showing their skills. But I like to see a wet night, young guys having to roll up their sleeves and dig in. that's when you kind of see the best in some guys.
Yeah.
And you know, Sean Reedy there, great first half. He done everything well. He didn't carry that much ball. He was every breakdown. You know, I like the look of him.
It's never 20 degrees out there, by the
No,
way.
it's never.
It's not 20 degrees in the summertime here.
Ruan Pinar has been missing for Ulster all of this season.
Sure.
Paul Marshall's had to carry a lot of responsibility and has looked pretty good tonight.
Well, I thought he started the first 40 minutes in a he looked well, you know. This is what he's about. Quick, he's alert, he's sharp, he's snappy. He needs guys running off his shoulder because he'll make that initial break like he does. And my goodness, he's explosive out of the blocks for a wee man. And when you stand next to Paul Marshall, he's knee-high to a grasshopper. He really is. He's a tiny wee man, but he is hard. He's got a bit of punch. And I thought, this is what he's all about all season.
And Ludic too. Nice break here.
Ludic's very strong. I think in defence as well, he's very, very aggressive. Yeah. He always, fires his ball, puts his body on the line, hits the boys low. He's very, very good. I like the look of him. But Louis kind of, every time he touches the ball, he seems to get yards. Where I think the last couple of weeks we've been missing that. But with Andrew Trimble out as well, every time he touched the ball, you just give him the ball, he'd go forward. And tonight Louis doing that, and obviously Paul's having a great game.
One other player who always gets go forward ball is Stuart McCluskey, and he seems to have been a real find for Ulster this season.
Well, he every year we always seen that there's some player who turns up on the season this year, and we get Stuart McCluskey's that guy this year. I thought he was hard done by last week. I thought he would have been the ideal fella to start last week against Bastareaud and so forth. But he's strong, he's physical, he's just. This season we've seen him make those little soft depth touches, and that's the difference. He's getting through the line. He can ride a tackle.
A bit of physicality. It goes a long way. It's
as you know.
But obviously with Luke Marshall out injured at the minute, he's taken his opportunity very well. I would have liked to seen him start last week, possibly Stu Holden, coming off the bench. But he's been on it, especially in the wet conditions. There, he's got those silky skills out the back. A couple of offloads. Pete Nelson, nearly held on. That would have been underneath the sticks maybe. So he's a great guy, a lot of potential for a young fella, and I can't wait to see how he goes in the second half.
Well, Stuart McCluskey is the subject of our halftime feature. In the spirit of Halloween, we thought we'd take him to one of Belfast's scariest places. He joined Gavin Andrews on a trip to Crumlin Road Jail.
So here we are in the circle, and this really was the heart of the jail. We're just going to make our way down C Wing, which has seen a lot of paranormal activity over the years. Alright, so we're just going to make our way down and into the tunnel. This was built between 1849 and 50, and this was used to transport prisoners from the jail to the courthouse and vice versa. Over 150 years, many different prisons were brought along here, and it's seen all kinds of unusual activity. Such as this, hold on, there we go. It's not unusual for them to take whatever energy they can. So, you're all right? We're back on again.
It's all right, man.
It's all right.
It's all right all the time. It's all right.
This is where prisoners would have been kept for their own safety and protection if they're at risk. So this is the pad itself.
There, boys, go on. There we are.
Where we are at the moment, this is the condemned man's cell. If you were sentenced to death, you would have been brought here. The whole process would last no more than 3 minutes, going from his cell, being restrained, to his death. Many people have had very, very strong reactions down here. We ask the people to place a hand out in front of them and ask the spirits to come forward. And if you want to do it, yeah.
I'm not getting it. That's because you can cast.
It was a bit more scary than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was coming here for a nice chat about rugby, maybe a few pictures around the cells, but down a couple, that holding cell and the hangman's nest there got me a wee bit, the heart rate up a wee bit.
So if your form goes down the hill this season, then we're to blame.
We'll know who to blame it on, so BBC.
McCluskey, and the big fella's got away. McCluskey takes on the Edinburgh midfield. What a game he's had.
McCluskey was just very strong and powerful in the centre, continues to really impress.
I was always quite small until I was about 18 or so, then I got a bit of a growth spurt and moved out from scrum half to made my way to centre eventually, and then that was at Bangor Grammar. Then went to Dungannon, played there for a year, then eventually got picked up, played a few A matches, and that's how I made my way in. If someone had said to me, come start November, you've already played 4 matches, about to start your 5th, I would have taken that all day long. I think some people describe my game as a bit of boss really, but I'd like to think I have a few more subtleties than that.
It's come very quickly. You're 22, you've kind of burst through. What are the particular targets for you now?
Just keep on playing well, hopefully hold down a position at Ulster first, then if I keep on doing that I can't see why I can go any further.
Good to see him getting a little bit of a scare. A late developer, but he comes across as a very nice young fella and a very, very effective rugby player.
Well, that's what you get with the Dungannon man, isn't it? You know. No, one thing I like about him is he's got a smile on his face all the time, and he's loving it. He's enjoying it. He's just fitted in with all the guys, come straight in. Not the same background coming through the schools and the way a lot of the guys would come into professional rugby. And he's doing a great job, and I think all the guys are warming to him, and he's just really enjoying it. And hopefully, you know, he can keep blossoming, and in the next couple of years, you know, go on to maybe playing for Ireland.
Ulster have done a very good, solid job in the first half. Now it's all about trying to finish it off second half, and more of the same, Andy.
Very much so. You know, they've put a good platform down thus far. You know, been able to maintain the ball in a very sticky situation, a very slippy night out here tonight. So, you know, if they can just maintain it, go through some more phases, I think as the game progresses, we'll probably not see the game open up too much into the last 20 minutes, but they've laid a very, as you say, solid foundation, and I can see them doing well in the second half.
Were you surprised to see Ulster kicking as much ball in the first half?
No, I don't think so. Just for the conditions, you know, putting up and unders up there, you know, it's a 50-50 every time. So if you have a bit of luck there, maybe get a fortuitous bounce and, you know, maybe get a score. But I expect hopefully to get an early score here second half, and you know, I'd say that the lads have been told by Neil Doak to push on for that bonus point if that happens.
What would you like to see Ulster do more of this second half, Andy?
We'll just get some more go forward, faster rucks, even though it's wet. Let's just pick up the pace. We've got space out wide, we've got strong players out wide, Stuart Olding, these sorts of guys. Let's get the ball in their hands, let's play, but it's got to come fast and furious from up front.
Okay, Andy, Stephen, thank you very much. The good news for all the Hardy fans here this evening is that it has stopped raining at last. Back to our commentary team, Tony and Jim.
Thank you, Angie. Well, Stevie Ferris, needless to say, would have to get Dungannon in, and I've got to say, since we were last with you, one of the great men of Dungannon, indeed, Ulster Rugby, the wonderful Bobby Mills, Ulster branch president 50 years ago, the 1964-65 season, celebrated a couple of weeks ago his 100th birthday, and still a reasonably regular attender at the monthly meetings when all the past presidents come along. So the oldest surviving past president, Bobby Mills, and a belated happy 100th, dear Bobby. So Ulster, no changes, indeed neither of the Dragons from the 15 that left the park at half-time when they were leading by 11 points to 3. Made another terribly good job of taking the restart kick, and the ball has gone into touch, and it's going to be a Dragons throw. Not the sort of start Ulster really wanted. It's all about concentration, Tony.
Yeah, it is. We've just sort of been left on the sidelines. I think Stevie and Andy make two good points in terms of the physicality and quicker ball. And with hopefully the overhead conditions drying up, it'll make the ball be easier to move around. But Ulster have done that very well in that first half.
Taken in by Jamie Thomas for the Dragons. And that's a good drive by the Dragons. Bobby Jayak trying to dig in. Andy Powell has that at the back, and a Dragons score right at the start of the second half could set the cat among the pigeons and would make life more difficult for Ulster. That's Ashton Shewitt pressed into service on the right wing. T. Reese Thomas gets it away. Nice handling by the Dragons. It's an aggressive piece of play by their skipper yet again. Ulster have stolen that. They need a scrum half. They've got it. Here's McCluskey.
Stop 20, stop, please.
Slight miscue, but it's not a bad kick. Brew has to go all the way back. And for a slight miscue, it's more than fulfilled its purpose.
Yeah, it's just had a nice bounce and it's landed, but good play by Callum Black, able to pick up that loose ball on the ground, and McCluskey under pressure makes that kick to touch. but Ulster just be looking for some simple ball in this half, really just to start things off. It's a Dragons line-out. Can they get men in the air? Can they pressurise and get a turnover? From the Dragons' point of view, they'll want to add some composure to it, get the ball down and drive it, as they've done effectively at the last line-out, and play in the Ulster half.
Good steal by Ulster. Dyack. Reedy. Good distribution. Jackson now, he's got to judge that properly. And he has. Well taken, and the referee, is he going to allow the fair catch? I think he is. Well covered back by Jason Tovey. And it's going to be an Ulster line out because it wasn't a penalty, it was only a mark or a free kick. He's limping a little bit. Has he tweaked something there in kicking that? That doesn't look so good. He's hobbling a little bit, or use that Ulster Scots expression. He's hurpling. You would know that being a Ballymoney man, Tony. Yeah, people hurpling.
There's a lot of hurpling going on there, and there's a lot of tape as well, Jim. But again, he's looked very accomplished playing fullback tonight. Normally an out half.
Poor throw by Rob Herring. It was crooked, but the advantage is to the Dragons. Richie Rees takes full advantage. James Benjamin tries to set it up the open side flanker. Clive Ross gets out of the way. Angus O'Brien, who's underneath that. The answer is Ricky Andrew. He's got Cave with him. Well, that had a big pink bow on it, didn't it?
Yeah, you really have to say from Darren Cave's point of view there, that's one that's gone missing. Ricky Andrew, fantastic catch off a ball that was actually moving in the air, almost football-esque. A great take, pivot and go, and it's a pretty simple 2-on-1 that they've executed, and Darren just hasn't managed to hang on to that, and really it's a chance going begging.
Well, Ricky Andrew took that as the Dragons bring on a replacement. Jason Tovey's gone off.
Yeah, the mark.
I think he tweaked something. There's Geraint. Rhys Jones has come on. Well, he took that well. And did he do it when he actually took it, or did he do it when he kicked? He seemed to be all right as he took it. So Geraint Rhys Jones is on wearing number 23.
Fine. Set.
Good squeeze by Ulster. Paul under a little bit of pressure, but gets it away. Richie Rees. Knocked forward, I think, by the Dragons, and that's going to be an Ulster scrum. Good work of that Ulster scrum. They didn't quite get the shove on, but they got the little tweak on, and they were able to disrupt the pick up at the back.
Yeah, it wasn't as straight as the put-ins. I don't think there was a strike in there from the Dragons either, and it's Callum Black on the Ulster loose head side, that left-hand side of the scrum, getting a nudge up. And Sean Reedy then doing a fine job at the back, putting himself in a position to make the pass hard for the Dragon scrum half, and the ball squirts out of Richie Rees's hands. But again, a chance here for Ulster on the right hand side with that back line stacked out left.
Well, they don't have anybody on the narrow side. There's nobody on the right wing. Ricky Andrew has positioned himself in between Paddy Jackson and Stuart McCluskey.
Fine. Set.
Almost 5 minutes gone in the second half. Big scrum this one. Good strike, good scrummaging position by Fian Herbst. He's really locked that out. Dyack just gets it back. Marshall, Jackson, McCluskey. Good support by Ricky Andrew. Reedy gets across the 22. Ulster on the front foot. Good pick up and drive in the narrow side by Big Lewis Stevenson. Marshall. Callum Black, who's been busy as always. Herbst leaves it. Marshall, good call by Jackson. Ulster galloping forward. Still there, Marshall. Well, that pass wasn't to hand, and the Dragons have come away with it. T. Rhys Thomas goes to ground.
18. On your feet, please. Okay.
That was Rhys Williams, the new boy. Didn't find his touch. Nelson got it away. Here's Olding. They're asking too much. Nicely done to Andrew. Lovely sidestep, Andrew. Well, he's impressed in the few minutes he's been on. Marshall. Fian Herbst. Nobody really with him, and he's done the sensible thing. He's made it available. Marshall. Chance on the narrow side. Cave. McCluskey. Dragons' Matthew Putner hanging on for all he's worth. Here's Lewis Stevenson again. He's had a good game.
Black. Advantage.
Ulster have got the penalty. It's all a bit slow. Little flat pass to Callum Black, who's been the first receiver on many occasions this evening. Marshall again. This is better from Ulster. Jackson. Not too far away, Paddy Jackson. Dragons line within touching distance. McCluskey nicely done. Holding for a second try. Has he got in? Well, the referee's going to go upstairs. If he hit the corner flag, it doesn't matter. That doesn't count anymore. It's all about, did he get it down before the feet were swept into touch? And Ulster seem to think he has. But Simon McDowell will tell us.
Please.
Ulster needed to get something at the start of the second half.
Yeah, they did. Nice composure initially after the Dragons have cleared after an Ulster turnover.
Thanks,
and again,
Mario.
it's Olding on the counter attack. Good hands from Stuart McCluskey here, and we see Olding again goes low early. I think that's probably a score, Jim. I think he's hit the flag and the ball's going down at the same time, and as you've quite rightly said, if you hit the flag, you're still in the field of play.
Now, did he get the ball across the line and down before his knees made contact with the white line? I think he did, you know. I don't think there's much wrong with that, but Simon McDowell will tell us. There's that same angle again. He dived, the cover just about got to him, but did he get the ball down? Powell indicating to the referee that was, ooh, dearie me, what do you think? Did his thighs hit the corner flag, and did they then hit the ground before the ball was put to the deck?
I think in those situations you have to give the attacking man the benefit of the doubt.
Yes,
I think
Mario, I have one more look.
The touch judge in a good position as well.
Simon McDowell's having one more look, asking for one more look. Will one more look make up his mind?
Yes, I'll have a review.
Well, everybody, including the Dragons players and the Ulster players, are standing looking up at the big screens. Likewise the crowd. Here we go again. Lovely little touch by Stuart McCluskey, and what a bit of covering by T. Rees Thomas. But was it enough? Powell doesn't think so, but that's a little bit of showboating. The tap, the dive, the tackle, and now the decision.
Mario, Simon, I have a decision.
Okay.
You may award the try.
I can award a try.
The try's going to be awarded. And Olding's got two.
And I think that's just reward as well for Ulster there. Good composure on the counter attack. Happy to sit and go through the phases as Andy Ward has talked about at half time. Nice bit of play from Stuart McCluskey, realising that the flip's on, and obviously a call from Stuart Olding outside him as well. And Olding has the awareness to go low early, get in.
Well, just about this time last year, Stuart Olding ruptured his knee ligament and was out for the rest of the season, and both Les Kiz and Joe Schmidt were pretty distraught about that because they had big plans for him. They still might have. Jackson didn't just come in enough, but coming up to 8 minutes gone in the second half, and Ulster with their second try, courtesy of Stuart Olding, now 16-3 up.
It's important for Ulster at this stage again to go back to basics, claim the kick-off, get field position, play in the Dragons' half. Whenever they've kept the ball and they've gone the same way repeatedly with that pattern, they stretch this side and the spaces are there.
Good take by Franco van der Merwe. Ulster just lost control of it. The ball's still slippery. Marshall. Well, that's just about perfect. Great covering though by Andy Powell. Still got a fair old bit of bite in his game. Richie Rees. O'Brien. It was Benjamin, the flanker. A good strong run in the middle of the park. Richie Rees again. And again it's O'Brien. Oh, there's a gap there. And Ulster has stolen it. Rob Herring comes away with it. Referee playing advantage to Ulster. Again, good work by Stevenson. Jackson.
Stop, Simon.
Back lopes Alan Brew. He may let that go over the goal line. It's not going to. Oh, he's put his foot over the goal line. And the referee says that's okay, and that's a 22 dropout. Well, he left that a little bit late, Alan Brew, but he obviously thought he was going to get it.
It's just one of those rules that doesn't sit right with me. The fact that you can claim the ball is still moving, place your ball over the try line, lift it, take it back, and game the 22. For me, that ball was still in play, and he should have been forced to play it.
Time off.
There's Ricky Andrew has decided at some stage, he used to wear a lot of headgear, or a piece of headgear, decided to divest himself of the ponytail that he used to sport. And another replacement coming on. I beg your pardon, Tony, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Jim. Ricky Andrews looked very positive this evening. He's looked hungry for work. He looks accomplished, obviously. We know he plays full-back, and again, playing in that right-hand wing, he's seen a lot of ball in terms of fielding the ball, but he's been assured under it, and he's countered very well, but he's also his link play with the other back three has been first class.
Well, the injury problems for Dragons coach Lynn Jones don't seem to go away, and his most experienced player, 27 times capped Welsh international T-Reece Thomas, has gone off. Paddy Jackson has put up the highest kick of the evening. That's a belter, well taken by Angus O'Brien. Reedy's in there quickly, likewise Stuart McCloskey. Dragons win it though. And Boris Stankovic is now down for the Dragons. Well, you've got to have a lot of sympathy with Lynn Jones. Taken on by Fairbrother, the replacement prop. There may have to be another one. There's not too much out there. This is Lewis Evans, who's big and strong and has made some decent ground.
No hand white.
Ulster can't afford to be too careless. They very nearly won that ball through the energetic Stevenson. Not a lot of room on this side. Angus O'Brien. This is Rhys Jones, the replacement. Richie Reese. O'Brien. That's the captain, that's gone loose. Hacked on by Rob Herring. Great bit of tackling there by Sean Reedy, who was in touch, but he kept the hold of the Dragon who had the ball, so technically the Dragon with the ball and the ball were in touch.
I have to say, I've been very impressed with Sean Reedy. He's been an absolute pest at breakdown. He's been good with ball in hand, and he's been effective at ruck clear out, which is exactly what you want from your open side wing forward in every facet of play.
Yes, one of those pain in the derriere open side flankers who won't go away.
And perfect on a night like this with slippery wet ball as well. He's only 1.80 metre in height, small by modern back day size wise, but he's been very effective.
Oh, Darren Cave made the drive, but it was the Boris Stankovic's teammate who actually collided with him, and Stankovic, who played 7 seasons with the Tigers, banged heads with big Lewis Evans, and Stankovic is going off, and I don't think we're going to see him back on again, because it's not just a blood injury. He'd have to go through the head injury assessment for concussion. Ulster, meanwhile, Fian Herb sets it up.
Black.
Darren Cave. Marshall with options.
Yeah, correct.
Well, Ulster making a meal of this. And they've knocked it forward, and they've given away possession just when they really needed to consolidate. And here comes another replacement. And it's Owen Evans is coming on for his 36th league game, the 25-year-old loose head prop.
Blood injury. 6 black. Number 1 off.
And Lewis Evans is going off as well.
Yeah.
So the Dragons in all sorts of problems. And Lynn Jones says they have a bench who normally have to be in bed by 8 o'clock, tucked up with cocoa. All youngsters.
Number 6.
Yes, there's different ways the blood guys aren't there, and certainly coming to Ravenhill or the Kingspan as it's now known, is maybe not one of the nicer ones, but you have to give them credit. They've stood up for it. They've certainly come here to play rugby. They haven't hidden from what's going on. They've been happy to play with ball in hand, chase and tackle manfully, but they look as if they're starting to run out of numbers quite quickly.
Ulster's former skipper and Irish and Lions centre Dr. David Irwin is on. I don't know if that's ominous or not. I'm always reminded of a flag some years ago when there was a little bit of civil dispute and somebody held up a placard who said it must be serious because Kate 80's here. Kate used to dine out on that one. Fame indeed. David Irwin is on, giving a little bit of attention to Sean Reedy, who's waited since August to make his first competitive debut. And as we mentioned earlier, got himself injured in the pre-season friendly against the Exeter Chiefs. So scrum half Jonathan Evans about to come on.
Yeah, quickly, please.
So Owen Evans is on, and Jonathan Evans about to come on. Ulster look as if they're going to make a replacement, and the not inconsiderable figure of Declan Fitzpatrick is ready to come on. So they haven't made a change. Clock will resume. Only there's Declan Fitzpatrick.
Crouch!
Red carded against Zebra.
Bind! Set!
So a brand new front row for the Dragons. Same old scrum half though. That's not a bad scrum by the Dragons on their own put in. Marshall again trying to be a nuisance. The referee saying it has moved round, and Ulster have whipped them round through the prerequisite 90 degrees and will get the put into the scrum. Also just need to ratchet it up again, Tony. The urgency's disappeared a wee bit.
Yeah, and this is sort of, it's a point in case of modern day rugby. You get to this 50-55 minute juncture, and usually it's tactical substitutions as opposed to substitutions for injury as such, but the game has a tendency to lose its shape for 5 or 10 minutes. You can feel the crowd have gone slightly flat as well, and as you say, also could do with putting another score on the board here and getting the crowd back involved.
So Michael Allen there, who's recovering from a rather nasty shoulder injury.
Bind!
A lot of stoppages in this second half, only 14 actual minutes of rugby played. Marshall. Another good scrummaging position by Vian Herbst. Dyack. Now Marshall. McCluskey. McCluskey does well. Herbst didn't have much in the way of options because only Rob Herring was really outside him and Peter Nelson was wide. Ulster making good progress up the middle. Route 1. Marshall. Now Jackson. Cave. Opposite number Matthew Putner tackles him. Marshall. It's all very cramped out there. Ulster need to put a bit of width in this. Now Marshall. Herbst will not be putting any width on it. Van der Merwe. Rob Herring. Good support from Ricky Andrew. Marshall at 6s and 7s. Callum Black takes it well, and despite the pressure gets it away. As Dyack on after only just a few minutes for the unfortunate Roger Wilson. Andy Powell not having much effect. Jackson decides to keep the lid on it now as he angled that one perfectly. No, he hasn't, and it's gone into touch and goal, and they're going to come all the way back for a scrummage to the Dragons.
Yeah, it's infuriating play there really from Ulster. On 3 separate occasions we find each member of the front row union standing in the out half position receiving ball, and really that's up to Paddy Jackson to step in there and command. He's almost in the back foot taking stay. You know, he's moving away from the point of contact, pointing at Marshall, asking him to pick out forwards and give them the ball because the pack aren't going forward. But really he should be putting his hands up and saying, give me the ball, let's attack the space, get some pace into this and go forward.
So Vian Herbst, who's played in every single game this season, has started all of them but one, and he had to come on against the Zebra when Fitzpatrick was sin bin. Makes way for Declan Fitzpatrick, who'll be really anxious.
Crouch!
Well, he's put another tough night in the scrum, and he's had a tough season. There's been no respite for the man who's a special project player. If he hangs around for another 2 3/4 years, he could be playing for Ireland. A long way to go. Declan Fitzpatrick, number 18, now with 5 Irish caps. His first and 5th against the New Zealand All Blacks. Well, it's great that the rain has gone away and we can have a bit of crack.
Crouch!
Neil McComb about to come on, the biggest member of the Ulster squad, the tallest at 6'7". Good to see Big Neil about to get a game. Good squeeze yet again from Ulster. Dragons get it away. Powell tackled by Marshall. Richie Reese couldn't get it away cleanly. Angus O'Brien doing his best. There's nobody at outside half, so they've got to bring it into the forwards. Taken on by Elliot D. He's only 20 years of age, the replacement hooker. That's an awful pass by Fairbrother. This could bounce handily for Ulster. Here's Olding. Inside to Andrew. Oh, nice feet by Ricky Andrew yet again. Tackle was by Jamie Thomas. Marshall into a bit of space. Back goes Brew. To no one in particular. Rescued by Angus O'Brien. Good kick. Niles Cave. Support from Robbie Dyack. Marshall, Jackson. Alan Brew. Into a bit of space. There's an obstruction there. Well, it doesn't matter. It was knocked forward by Paddy Jackson. Not terribly well managed there by Ulster. Richie Rees looking for a gap, and Callum Black shuts it.
Advantage over.
Jamie Thomas again. Ashton Hewitt plays scrum half. Rhys Jones, replacement full back. Richie Rees, Angus O'Brien. Decent bit of continuity this from the Dragons. Ashton Thomas gets away from Clive Ross. Also not committing too many players to the breakdown, and they've given away the penalty. Rob Herring, hands on the ground. Now what will the Dragons do? Is there any point in them going for the 3 points and maybe get a try to close the gap and get a losing bonus point? Will they go for the post, Tony? Yes, they will.
Yeah, they're going to go for the post, Jim. But again, Ulster just in danger here. They've lost all structure. They've lost any pace. They're not getting off the line. The whole thing is just, it's becoming very normal. There's nobody willing there to put their hand up, looking for ball to carry ball. No big tackles being made. Happy to concede the space, concede the territory, and Dragons are a dangerous enough side. We've seen enough of that so far that get themselves back into contention here quite easily.
Still no signal that Neil McComb is coming on. In the meantime, it's back to Angus O'Brien. Penalty in the first half for O'Brien, and penalty in the second half for O'Brien. So only 10 points between them, and with a few missed kicks by Ulster, well, this game is by no means in the bag.
No, it's not in the bag, and Ulster will be kicking themselves really, because they've had chances in this second half so far, once they get into the Dragons 22, to take points from it, and they haven't done that. And the longer the game goes on, the more the self-doubt is sown.
Well, Ulster just need to take this game by the scruff of the neck once they get themselves some possession. Good chasing by McCluskey. It's confirmation Neil McComb is on for his great buddy Lewis Stevenson. Richie Rees, who's battled away magnificently. Angus O'Brien. Olding. A bit loopy. Paddy Jackson really had to stretch.
Stop.
But a lot of kicking from Ulster's number 10. Now O'Brien's going to run a little bit. Well set up. Rees in the narrow side. Taken on by big Owen Evans, the bewhiskered replacement prop. Andy Powell running laterally and getting himself caught. A little toe tap there by Rob Herring, I think. Spill forward now. Ulster's ball. Reedy, he's done well. Referee's playing advantage. That's a dreadful pass. Olding has a little cut himself, and he's got away from 1 and 2 and 3. Marshall. Well, the pass is still a bit loopy. That's a clever kick. Darren Cave. He's kept it in field. That's good covering there by Rhys Jones. Richie Rees. Ashton Hewitt gets across the 22. That hasn't found touch. It's found Paddy Jackson. There are men wide if he moves this. And he's found Olding, who takes it well.
Stop 7.
Not much in the way of options. Well, Olding's had a very, very accomplished game.
He does. He just looks at the man who born back there. Special awareness, I think, was a word that Andy and Stephen used at half-time, and he's got loads of that, but he also times the ball beautifully off that left foot at the same time. That's a superb grubber, and again, for any youngster at home, it's a great kick to have in the bag.
Still about 17 odd minutes to go. Elliot D for the Dragons. Powell into Reedy. Clive Ross just stands off sensibly. Angus O'Brien under a lot of pressure, doesn't find his touch, finds Nelson. He hasn't really had much of a chance to stretch those legs of his, but now he does, just as far as the 22. Marshall. Reedy. Marshall again, better pass. Jackson. Oh, McCluskey couldn't hold. And Olding, pretty sure that he's not going to get the hat-trick, at least not yet.
No, good defence by the Dragons here. Again, Ulster taking it up 1-2 occasions. Dragons don't commit. They're happy just to put the man on the ground and funnel around the far side, and that's good pressurised defence. Stuart McCluskey, it's really a facet of the game we haven't seen an awful lot of this evening, given the conditions. That short ball, 10-12, looking to punch holes, and on that occasion, he's been well handled by the Dragons' defence.
Well, for the first time after an hour and 3 minutes, we've had the familiar strains here in East Belfast and stand up for the Ulstermen. Maybe they knew the words to the second verse.
In scrum.
Is there a second
verse? Don't
verse?
change your position, okay? Okay, no more, okay? Thank you.
Well, another injury problem for the Dragons, and there's a little buggy coming on. If it's the man we think it is, well, at least he's up on one knee. But you've always got to be precautionary. It may well be a bang to the head. If it is a bang to the head, then the best thing to do is to get him lying down and get him well padded up. Well, Neil Doak, who's watched the side play poorly at Welford Road, and simply outclassed by the multi-talented, multi-funded Toulon. So the Dragons are indeed losing another player, and it's their back row forward, Lewis Evans, who's going off. Ulster are also going to bring on Ian Humphreys at outside half for McCluskey, which means Paddy Jackson will move into the centre. So off goes McCluskey, and up for the first time Ian Humphreys comes on. And we'll see what sort of difference this makes in terms of Ulster's attacking options. And the Dragons are bringing on for his debut, the 20-year-old Scott Andrews.
Courage! Fine!
Free against the Dragons for early engagement, just shunting the scrum forward. Now Ulster have the options of the scrum, and they really probably should take the option of the scrum because their scrum is pretty strong.
Yeah, once you lose that advantage of taking the quick penalty, specifically with Marshall at scrum half, in a position given where you are, you're in the middle of the pitch in the opposition 22, the scrum's the only option realistically that's available to you.
Well, Marshall's been quiet for most of the second half, but the first half he was a real, no pun intended at Halloween, a real firecracker.
Crouch!
That's the Dragons 22, that white line. On this side of the Ulster scrum on the flank is Sean Reedy, who's had a pretty good senior debut, competitive debut anyway. Solid Ulster scrum, good work by Declan Fitzpatrick. Now Marshall, Jackson, where's this going? Marshall loops round, he's got Ricky Andrew with him, back inside to Andrew. Well, there wasn't a great deal wrong with that pass, and that was just, I think, a little bit of nerves on the part of Ricky Andrew, because the vista suddenly opened up in front of him, and look at the frustration on his face. He knows that he should have held that ball.
It's the snatch, isn't it? And you know, again, it's one of those bread and butter instances. You get your way into the opposition 22, and in modern day rugby you have to get points coming out of there. And again, Ulster have coughed up a simple, straightforward catch. It's not even a pass, it's just a slip out of the hands on that occasion.
Well, if it stays like this, Ulster will be assured of the victory and the 4 points, which would take them back into third place in the league. But if you think of the chances that they put down, this should have been a 5-pointer for them. And that's not to take away from the effort that the Dragons have put into this game. A little sympathy for Lynn Jones, as we mentioned. Huge amount of injury problems going into this game, and now some more coming out of it. We've seen good squeeze by Ulster. Here's Paul, who hasn't stopped all evening. Also looking for a turnover close to the Dragons' line.
Back White.
But the men in black and white have won it.
No.
Rees.
No hand White.
Dragons under their posts.
Stop. Forward. Over.
Rees. That's not going to find touch. Well taken, Andrew. Olding. Andrew stays there to support. Marshall. Clive Ross. Manhandled by Andy Powell. Can he make it available to former Lansdowne player and cousin of Irish international Mikey Can? Nice little pass by Robbie Dyack. Reedy was taken well. Van der Merwe, Humphreys, Jackson at inside centre. Still there for Ulster. Robbie Dyack had Olding outside him. Marshall again. Van der Merwe, ridiculous dummy, but somebody bought it. Jackson's got hurt and he's hobbling. Marshall. Humphreys right through. He's got Andrew with them. That's a pretty awful pass. He did the hard bit, he did the beautiful bit, and then they blew it. Well, we should have been looking at a bonus point victory at this stage for Ulster, as the Dragons, an injury-ridden Dragons, are simply falling apart.
Yeah, it's just unfair. Ian Humphreys again, he's done all the hard work, and that's a pass for a left-handed left-footed individual. That was again basic bread and butter after doing the hard stuff, and you could almost see him imploring Ricky Andrew to make the burst and put himself into space, but Ian just couldn't connect with him there at the end.
A couple of Dragons replacements being made. Scrum half Evans is on. That's Jonathan Evans, and that's the man who just passed it. This is Angus O'Brien. Isn't that a bad game at all? Jonathan Evans. Ulster might just have turned that one over. If they do, there's a chance. Black. Cave just loved it. Well, Ulster actually played a lot better in the first half when it was lashing Tony, to be honest.
Yeah, they've just got I wouldn't say overcritical in terms of what they're trying to do, but they're snatching at things now. They're trying to make something happen whenever it's not on. They were throwing passes blind to people who are actually standing in the worse position than we are, and we're attempting to get the ball wide for the sake of getting it wide, and you have to earn the right to do that, and unfortunately we're probably putting too many men into ruck time, Jim. We're not getting enough forwards out wide who can actually blast us over the gain line, and again there's been a lot of basic errors in this second half.
11 and a bit minutes to go. 10 points between them. Also leading by 16 points to 6. The try on either half by Stuart Olding, but there could have been more. Bonus points come the end of the season at a premium, and will Ulster regret not having picked one up. They still might, but they made it tough for themselves in this second half, which is disintegrated into a bit of a mess. Well, there's a very festive looking Sparky. Oh, holy. Warmest man in Ravenhill.
Okay. Come on.
Jonathan Evans to put the ball into the scrummage. Clock is ticking away. 10.5 minutes remaining.
Crouch! Fine! Set!
Not altogether straight according to the crowd on the near side, but the referee from Italy, Matthew Liparino, happy. And Ulster penalised at the scrum. Going to ground, they say. Declan Fitzpatrick might just have been the culprit.
Number one.
Not a bad strike by Angus O'Brien. Well, they don't need the headgear now. Come on, it's not that boring. Hasn't been a great second half, but there's no need to yawn. There's O'Brien, who's got the Dragons 6 points from a penalty in either half. Elliot D playing his 13th league game, and this is second season for the men from Newport. An Ulster challenge. Up goes Van der Merwe. That's a free kick for dummying the throw. They'll have to come back. I don't think the Dragons can believe it, and Andy Powell just sets it down. He's not going to throw it, Ulster, needless to say. So what will Ulster do with this? They can go for the scrum, and they have gone for the scrum. No point in kicking it into touch. That would give the Dragons the possession. They might have thought about an up and under, so they need to be a wee bit more constructive from this.
Yeah, we do. We've a perfect opportunity here. The Dragons will have their full back and their two wingers slightly deep. Ulster with a full back line. We see Ricky Andrews standing behind Ian Humphreys, giving an extra number as well. And with what's been a rock-steady platform up front, we just need a little bit more accuracy, a little bit more patience and subtlety in terms of passing and catching. And let's try and exploit that space.
Crouch! 5 set.
Ricky Andrews nudged himself to the narrow side. That's a penalty. This time it's the Dragons, and Ulster need to kick this ball into touch, and that left foot of Ian Humphreys will be called into play for the first time this evening. Oh, beautifully done. Well, if he'd taken out a slide rule and a pair of compasses, he couldn't have done it any better.
Yeah, it's been the sweetest strike of the evening. Classic Humphreys.
On the line, Black.
So pleased to be back home in Northern Ireland after a couple of years with London Irish.
I think he looks at it as well, Jim. There was a real spring in his step,
yep.
And I think he knows he's not too far away from that outside half berth, possibly.
Well, they've won the ball. Are they going to drive and go for try number 3? Dragons will certainly try to prevent that. It's a bit of a mess, really. The Dragons have come away with it. Well, how did that happen? That's good work by James Benjamin for the Dragons. Alan Brew given no room, but another opportunity for Ulster to really put this game to bed is gone. Angus O'Brien spilled it forward, but Ulster, I think, got themselves offside. Most of the Dragons have been penalised for, I'm not quite sure why. They were offside, that's why.
Yeah, I think their captain, Ryan picked the ball up in an offside position, but again, that's just been symptomatic of Ulster, hasn't it? You know, getting into that 22 and sloppy play, and another chance goes a-begging.
Well, they have another chance, yet another chance, and Ian Humphreys doing a bit of barking there. Okay. Well, nice to see happy, smiling faces. They know the job is all but done, but they'd like it with a little bit of icing on it. Bob Herring, whose line on throwing has been pretty decent all evening. Neil McComb at the front took that nicely. Callum Black is in there. Ulster need to straighten now. They've come round. A couple of Dragons just hanging on there. Ulster again moving forward. Powell being a pest as ever. Now they may have to play this. Referee's got the hand out for yet another penalty to the men in white. Here goes Reedy. This would cap up a fine evening for him, and he's lost the ball forward, and they should come back for the penalty.
Okay.
Well, they're doing everything but score, Tony.
Yeah, again, just coughing up another chance, and they've withstood the 1-2 goals by the Dragons and been repelled. And good play by Alan Brew there. He's just out-muscled them, really, hasn't he? Going in, Sean Reedy carrying the ball in one hand, and Alan Brew's just whipped that off him.
Well, it's on wet nights like this, you wonder, will Alan Brew thinking, I would have been happier staying in Biarritz. But then this time of the year, Biarritz can be iffy as well.
We've been there on a couple of occasions. I've seen it wetter than Belfast.
Great former French prop forward Pascal Ondart has a couple of little properties with a couple of other cafes attached. So it was a pleasant evening with Pascal Ondart, if you can persuade him to sing. Like most prop forwards, he thinks he can sing, but he can sing. A bit of a stoppage now. I think Ulster will have to make up their mind. Are they going to pop it into touch and go for yet another line out? Well, that's how close it was, and I don't think really appreciated the upper body strength of the Welsh international Aled Brew, who ripped that ball away from him. Brew did get it away. It was a bit untidy, but the Dragons dotted it down. The youngster Scott Andrews.
Peter scrum, White put in.
Simon McDowell said it wasn't a try, it was a scrum to White, but the initial penalty was for the offence, and Ian Humphries has found his touch yet again. So for the third time of asking, Ulster have a line out 5 metres from the beleaguered Dragons line. Good take once again by Neil McComb. Dragons have got in quickly. Now Ulster churning round, open field. It's tucked in there. It's Callum Black who has it in there. Round comes McComb, who did the initial catch, but the Dragons have done really well to push Ulster back. Here comes Marshall. Little flat pass. Spilled forward in the tackle. Well, Ulster have wasted yet another chance. Has that found touch? Yes, it has. Still Ulster's line out, but they've conceded some 20 metres now. My word, they're making a meal of this. And Tony, we must actually give the Dragons, like, hugely under strength and hugely ravaged by injury, a lot of pluses for their defence.
No, very much so. They've stood up to a man and been counted on more than one occasion. You know, they've hung in there. They don't offer an awful lot in attack, but they're happy to go through the phases. But certainly defensively, they're well structured, and they've caused Ulster to spill more ball than they've hung on to.
McComb again. Marshall just delayed, was spoiled by the Dragons skipper Reinhard Landman. Ulster conceding a lot of ground, and they've conceded possession as well. That's great work by the Dragons. They need a scrum half. Now they've got one in the replacement hooker, Elliot D. Are the Dragons capable of coming back and sneaking a losing bonus point? That's gone straight into touch. Time is not on the Dragons side, and in terms of the bonus point, well, it's just slipped away from Ulster, who've been disappointing in the second half despite the territorial advantage and despite the possession.
Yeah, as you said earlier on, the first half performance was full of optimism, and I think certainly in the second half, I think the worrying thing is the lack of accuracy and the simple basic errors, and I'm sure that will be of concern to Neil Doak. The driving line out will be a concern to Alan Clark, because it's something that's functioned well all year, but tonight we've struggled whenever we've had those opportunities close to the Dragons line.
Michael Heaney has come on for Paul Marshall. This is Clive Ross. Just across the 10-metre line. Heaney straight into action. Oh, good run by big Neil McComb, who's pretty quick for an enormous man. Robbie Dyack well held up. Heaney again. Humphries, sweet pass. Cave, nicely done to Andrew. Comes back inside. Brew tried to rip the ball, but he didn't have it in his hands. Now McComb. 2.5 minutes remaining. Humphries. Away to Olding. Nailed by Powell. Heaney again. Rob Herring. Also using little clusters of forwards, but there's no real width on it. Better chance now. Humphries. Cave. Humphries again. A little bit of readjustment, nothing wrong with that. Nice little dummy by Clive Ross yet again. Now Heaney. Penalty.
Time off.
This is going to be interesting. There's an offence there. The touch judge had his flag out on the far side, and I think there's been an offence. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Certainly the referee was very quick in the blow as well.
Number back. Take over with the hard now the shoulder. Okay, thank you.
Just an illegal tackle against the replacement.
Okay.
And Ulster popped it straight into touch. Well, they tried 3 or 4 lineouts on the Coventry side of the field. Now they've gone up to the old War Memorial corner. Will that inspire Ulster? Stuart Olding named as man of the match. Oh, dreadful. Well, they couldn't have made heavier weather of it, Ulster, in the second half. Away by Jonathan Evans. A minute and a half to go. Well, I suppose, Tony, given what happened over the past couple of weeks, you know, Ulster would have been at the start of this game more than content just to get the win and get the 4 points. But as the game has gone on, you would have to say that they must realise that the bonus point has slipped away from them.
Yeah, I think must is the key word there. I think the school report would sometimes say could do better. I think on this occasion for Ulster it's must do better.
And even the lineouts falling apart now right at the end. Concentration just not what it was. Ashton Hewitt. Here come the Dragons. Good tackle by Cave, but the ball was slipped away very nicely. That looked a wee bit on the forward side. Alan Brew. He's been well shackled, the danger man. Jonathan Evans. James Benjamin. Jonathan Evans. Angus O'Brien. Just a few seconds remaining. And the Dragons in possession. Andy Powell.
No hand, 6.
Angus O'Brien goes to ground.
Okay.
Jonathan Evans tries to set it up. There's nobody at outside half.
Use it.
Fairbrother, the prop, is there. Don't know what his kicking game was like, but his driving game's all right. Here they come again. Ooh, a wee bit of a fumble, but that's worked out all right. Good tackle there by Franco van der Merwe. Can Ulster turn it over? Well, they've got the penalty. Well, there's no time to kick the touch. And no time for the scrum. It's going to be tap and go, Tony.
Yeah, we need that. Aidan Humphreys on the ball here. He's quick enough to pick that up and move and play out to Fitzpatrick.
Well, he didn't have much in the way of support for Fitzpatrick, but he's done well. Now it's Humphreys. Cave. Bit of a juggle there, and he's got half through. Good support from Ricky Andrews. Michael Heaney in quickly to provide the link.
Move.
Play on. Robbie Dyack. Heaney. Now Humphreys. Has a go himself. He's very nearly through. Couldn't quite get it to Callum Black, but Ulster still in possession. Olding again. Heaney. Jackson on an angle. Didn't really have the pace. Heaney. Callum Black. It's Fitzpatrick. Gets over. For his 3rd league try. No bonus point, but a try by the chunky prop to put a smile on the Ulster faces. Well, if they'd been able to do that throughout the second half, Ulster would have run away with this game. As it is, they've guaranteed that they'll go back into 3rd place in what's becoming a very, very tight league at the top of the table. Fitzpatrick unstoppable from that range. By the time he gets out of the shower, he'll have run from halfway.
It's a big stay. Ulster will be glad with the win tonight. Jim in the bag of losing against Leicester and Toulon in the European Cup. There's now a hiatus for 2 or 3 weeks. But make no mistake, the next match here against the Ospreys, they're the league leaders. They're unbeaten in the league so far. It's going to be a big, big step up in class for Ulster that night. And a performance tonight has been good. But again, it'll need to be much better against the Ospreys.
This the last act of a game that certainly had its moments, but could have had more moments had Ulster been that little bit more accurate. Humphreys to convert the try. And the perfect kick from Ian Humphreys, a perfect end of the game. Ulster have won it, they move back into 3rd place. They've beaten the Dragons here at Ravenhill by a final scoreline that reads Ulster 23 and the Dragons 6.
Well, it wasn't pretty at times in the second half, Stephen and Andy, but a win is a win.
Yeah, I said before the game started that they'd be happy enough to get the win. The fourth try didn't come in the end, but the lads put in a lot of hard work. There's a few sore bodies, damp, wet pitch, but I think Neil Doak will be happy with the 4 points in the win.
Will Ulster be slightly disappointed they didn't get the bonus point tonight, though, Andy?
Yeah, I think so, mate. Listen, they were down in the bottom half. They spent all the time. There's 40 minutes in the Dragons' half, and for a good period of that, they were right on the 20 inside the 22. We had that many lineouts that imploded at that point. That's just not good enough for me. They need to be. They put themselves in 5 yards out. They got turned over. Lineout just didn't function. You can't do that at top end.
Okay, Andy, Stephen, thank you very much indeed. Because of the late kick-off this evening, we have run out of time very quickly at the end of the programme. Stuart Olding has been selected by you as man of the match, and quite appropriately, he is the Ulster player who has selected our end music this evening. It's a song from the soundtrack to the movie Wolf of Wall Street. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.